Good evening, junior class. This is Mr. Dunphy. Just wanted to touch base with you as a class now that the U.S. History and Government Regents is over for January. You guys did not take it, but I do have a copy here, and as I was looking through it, I couldn't help but think about the PowerPoint that many of you guys looked at for midterms, mid-year exams. And I just wanted to, again, touch base with you about some of these things, and I'm sure teachers will go over with you as we go through this, but, there were some, I just want to go through these slides. So, third parties was not a focus at all on the January regents. It means it could be fair game for the June regents, the one that you'll take, excuse me, but it is not a subject on this, which also makes it good outside information, guys. The essays for this test, I'll read them to you very quickly. The DBQ, thematic first. Thematic was on government and on congressional legislation specifically. All right, so it discussed, it asked you to discuss 2 laws that were passed, and they give you a variety of examples, like the Embargo Act in 1807, the Indian Removal Act, famous for Andrew Jackson's time, right, in 1830, right, and so on and so forth. But third parties could be a great example of outside information if you could include in some capacity how a third party might have motivated a law to be created, right? If you could find that for this essay. Now again, this essay will not be on June's paper, but that's how you really should use this stuff. It's not, especially something like third parties, and particularly this line here, guys. This line in and of itself is outside information. So third parties, because it doesn't come up that often, okay, is great outside information and should be something you write on essays in the future, or in June, let's say in June, right? The DBQ was on, I'll read the historical context, after World War II, right, so the post-war era, the American people looked forward to a period of peace and prosperity. However, key events in the 1950s challenged the national mood and had significant social, economic, and political effects in the United States in the 1960s and beyond. These events included the Korean War, the Montgomery bus boycott, and the launching of Sputnik, all of which, guys, at this point you probably haven't even gotten to in class, so don't feel concerned that you don't know what those are. But it is going to ask you for the circumstances behind them. They always generally ask those same things. So I come back to third parties as a good way forward. If you're getting stuck on what outside information could be, this is something that's not on these tests that often. If it is, you'll hit a home run. But if it's not, you'll still hit a home run, because in fact you'll hit a grand slam. You'll do a better job anyway. Because those things will be great outside information and will immediately enhance your score on your essays. Okay. So if we go back for a minute, I just wanted to point out a couple things to you. Judicial review was one of the toughest topics for us on our practice test. We will have another practice test soon, and this will again be on that. Something about judicial review of Marbury versus Madison. I'm looking at question 12 on today's Regents that actually discusses the decision in Marbury versus Madison, okay, and actually how that played out. So in this answer could declare a federal law unconstitutional, which is what judicial review is. The unwritten Constitution was on here not once but twice, actually. I'm looking at question 8, asking about an example of the unwritten Constitution, and there was definitely more than just that. So these things do come up again and again, guys, and I just thought it might be a good idea to first actually have this screencast for the first time. I don't know if most of you guys might not even know who I am, but I am Mr. Dunphy. I am approachable. If you have any questions about anything related to social studies or whatever it might be, I'd be happy to help you navigate through some of this stuff as we're doing now. And if there are issues that are general issues, things that I can help the whole grade with, I'd be happy to do that in settings like this as often as I can. Okay, I'm here to help. The social studies teachers are here to help, and we really want to help you get through these challenging tests that you have to take. It's not something we like. We don't like talking about it. We wish it wasn't there, but it's something that we have to get through and do well, and you guys can do that. So just a couple more things. Compromise was on here more than once again. Okay, and it's usually in the first few questions. This slide was just supposed to break down, in almost a silly way actually, but just break down some of the biggest compromises in early American history, ones you'll see. For example, on the Regents today, the Great Compromise was there. as it is here in the middle row here. Okay. All things to review. Native Americans actually was not on this. I didn't see Native Americans on here, but again, what is great about that is because just because it's not on there doesn't mean, first of all, it won't be on there in June. It could be on there in June because it's not on January, but it also could be great information for to support what you're doing, right? Your outside information and enhancing your grade, just like the third-party conversation we had earlier, right? Same would be true of the Dawes Act, which is a great example of outside information regarding Native Americans in U.S. history, right? Something that wasn't on our practice test actually, but something that came up indirectly for us. Purpose of the Declaration of Independence was on here. The third question asked what the Declaration of Independence contained. All right, remember that the Declaration of Independence gives the reasons why we're fighting the Revolutionary War. Okay, so in those reasons, you're going to have the colonists, right, the colonials, complaining, basically grieving. Why are we actually fighting this? Well, he has done this, he's not done that, and so on and so forth. And that he over and over again is the king, a reference to the king. All right, really the parliament in this case. Thoreau, civil disobedience, not on this region from what I can see, but civil disobedience, guys, whether it be Gandhi, whether it be Martin Luther King Jr., which we just celebrated, right, in a big way, or Thoreau, who a lot of people forget about. Thoreau is another example of these two guys. Didn't have the same mass movement, the same mass following. These guys are much more popular in world history, right? Like Martin MLK Jr. is certainly more in American history. Thoreau is right there too, and again, makes him excellent outside information. And that is really showing off what you know if you include someone like Thoreau in this. I don't know if this was on here. I can look it up again. I just sort of went through it quickly. Not that it just jumped off, but again, could make it good outside information for an essay. Soil system was not. Preamble is always on here in some capacity because I always want to know where the power comes from. So for example, this didn't ask about the preamble, but it does ask about the Magna Carta and the English Bill of Rights and how that influences United States early government. So a lot of those types of things will influence the creation of our Constitution and the preamble, which comes before the actual document, which is our Constitution. So keep that in the back of your mind. Mercantilism was not on here specifically. I mean, it makes it good for June, ripe for June, we can say, and certainly ripe for outside information, right, as is Native Americans and third parties. Mercantilism is usually on there. I'm surprised it wasn't actually. I have to look at it. And maps, there were, let me just count, one map, actually. But there were other graphics and data and things of that nature for you to sort through to answer certain questions. So, listen, consider this the first of many of these. Any problems you guys might have, if we could, go through certain aspects of this together, I think that might make us all a lot more confident, right? I think hopefully you're shaking your head yes, or and not, just too concerned about these things, because really it builds confidence if in January you're already thinking about what I can do for June to help myself on that exam. So what I like to call that challenge. It's just a challenge, guys. All right, one that will not be the last challenge you have. Let's get through this one together. All right. Have a good rest of the weekend. We'll see you on Tuesday, and any more to come.